What's going on, everyone? It's Mr. West. I hope you're all well. So welcome back to another ultimate video test, and this time is for the brand new OnePlus 7 Pro. Now, as with all ultimate video tests, I'll leave all of the main camera specifications down in the description, and I'll just run through some of the high-level features throughout the video to help save a bit of time. So we're starting with the front-facing camera, and this is a 16 megapixel fixed focus camera. It has auto HDR, auto exposure control, and it's supported with electronic image stabilization and stereo sound recording, which is a welcome change from the garbage audio recording from the front-facing camera on the OnePlus 6T. Now, it records up to 1080p at 30 frames per second, and I have noticed that OnePlus have removed the lower video recording options now from the phones, which is 1080p at 30 FPS, and that is your lot from the front-facing camera. Now, interestingly, the front-facing camera is capable of 4K video through third-party applications, and I'll be doing a separate video showcasing that very, very soon. So first of all, let's check out how the front-facing camera handles exposure and changes in scenery. So the sun is right behind me somewhere, I can feel it, it's very warm. And hopefully with the HDR, you should get some nice contrast in the clouds in the sky behind us. And then as you move the phone around, it automatically adjusts the exposure to compensate and get you a nice even image. Now, the electronic image stabilization has long been a really great feature of OnePlus handsets since the OnePlus 3T onwards. So let's test out the footage and the electronic image stabilization with a quick run and see how it handles a bit of faster movement. So that is it for the front-facing camera, no other modes to explore. So we'll move now to the rear cameras, and I'll tell you what those are all about. Okay, so onto the rear cameras now. So there's a triple lens setup on the OnePlus 7 Pro, and the main sensor is a 48 megapixel camera. Now, in auto mode, it actually takes 12 megapixel images, so it uses pixel binning to squeeze all that data. You then got a secondary 16 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and also an 8 megapixel telephoto lens with up to 3 times zoom, or if you've been reading the news lately, up to 2.2 times zoom. However, there are plenty of articles which show it is actually a 3 times zoom, but others beg to differ, but whatever. So, unfortunately at the moment, the OnePlus 7 Pro cannot record video with its ultra wide angle lens. So we are stuck with the standard wide angle, which is the 48 megapixel stroke 12 megapixel. But you can also use the 3 times zoom to get a bit closer to subjects. And electronic image stabilization is applied in 30 frames per second modes. And for 60 frames per second, it uses optical image stabilization. So this is currently 1080p at 30 frames per second. And as per the rule of thumb, this is electronic image stabilization. Now, as there's slight differences between 30 and 60 frames per second, in so much that double the frame rate means slightly less exposure. Not really that bad in daylight, but we'll check out either. So this is 30 frames per second, so we'll just check out how it handles differences in scenery between light and dark. Now, the automatic HDR should be working to get us a nice, smooth and colourful image. The rear cameras record in stereo sound with noise cancellation. And the EIS helps to keep everything nice and smooth. Okay, so 1080p at 60 FPS now. So this is using the optical image stabilization module of the camera. With 1080p 30 you do get a slight crop for the electronic stabilization, whereas 1080p 60 uses the full frame of the sensor. And you can even use the 3x optical zoom in this mode as well to help you get closer to objects. Now you can go to 10x zoom, but that is now kind of 7x digital zoom rather than anything clear. So around about 5 you start to lose detail and then it's kind of a bit mushy. So we'll go back to the standard lens. So we'll check out optical image stabilization with a quick run and see how it handles a bit of faster movement. So that is 1080p 60. So now let's try out 4K at 30 FPS. Okay, so if you're watching on a 4K TV monitor or a phone with a high resolution display, you should see the benefit of the slightly higher detail. So this is with the electronic image stabilization, so we'll go for a quick run. It's really strange just watching through the viewfinder. It doesn't look like it's very stable at all. But when you do watch back, it's really nice and smooth. Now with 4K you can use the 3x zoom as well. And this has electronic image stabilization as well. So whilst we've got some plantation around, we'll check out autofocus. I think this is a Christmas tree by the looks of it. Probably be in someone's garden by Christmas. So let's check out the autofocus in video mode. So it behaves exactly the same whether you're using 1080, 1080 60 or 4K or 4K 60. Yeah, great. Really nice and smooth transition between background and detail on the subject, and even maintains that as you move along as well. So the autofocus mechanism is nice and gradual. Some phones do tend to kind of snap back into place, whereas this isn't really a problem. We'll go a bit closer again, so you can get pretty close to subject before the focus maxes out. That's impressive. Some good kind of macro for video there, which is great. And you can also use 3x zoom lens, and that gives you the same effect. So focus background, focus foreground. Impressive stuff. So looking at the sky just breaking through behind those trees there, it looks pretty accurate colour wise through the display, but you let me know what you think it looks like. But there is room for improvement. I would like to see support for the ultra wide angle lens. That would make video really, really good, especially taking in bigger scenes like this in front of us. So that is 4K at 30 frames per second. So finally then, This is 4K at 60 FPS with optical image stabilization. Now I just need to mention at 4K and 4K 60 you can only record for 10 minutes and 5 minutes respectively. So 10 minutes for 4K 30 and 5 minutes for 4K 60. Now I did think that was a little bit strange given that the OnePlus 7 Pro is using the latest Snapdragon 855 processor. However, it may well be hardware limitations for the cameras on the phone, or something that may be able to be unlocked later on. So the stabilization works exactly the same as 1080-60. Let's take a look out into the distance. Now on my way up here, I did do my usual and just mount the phone onto the windscreen and record some video coming up through the forestry. I'll show that just after this segment, and that helps us to see how the phone handles continuous video, in other words drop frames. I can see a couple as I'm moving the phone around. Just now and again, it's not quite as choppy as some other handsets that I've tried, but again, there's a few nips and tucks which I think OnePlus can do in the video department to help really boost the video performance of the phone. Same for photos as well. So that is everything, and that's all of the video modes for the OnePlus 7 Pro. As I said in the last segment there, I think there are some improvements to be made. But as is, I think the video is more than good enough for the vast majority of people who will be buying this handset. But I know it can do better with some software updates later on down the line. And I really wish for ultra wide angle video. Until I'd actually tried it on some of the handsets, I didn't realise how useful and how good it was, because it gives you a much more dramatic landscape to play with. But for now, we're stuck with what we've got, and you let me know what you think of the video on the OnePlus 7 Pro. So if you've got any questions, then please leave those down in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And don't forget, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing so you don't miss more videos coming on the channel very soon. But for now, this has been my ultimate video test for the OnePlus 7 Pro. My name's Mr. West, and I'll catch you guys later.